So, I think this episode has always been a red herring for me. For reasons I don't exactly remember, I had the premiere of this particular segment hyped up for months, and after I watched it, I was left feeling moderately disappointed. For the longest time, it was a joint for which I had memorized every word of, but I couldn't stand to look at it for too long. I still have no idea why or how I came to feel that way. But I think seeing Doof start a burgeoning career as a junkyard DJ starts to make up for it.
Dad?
Oh, hi, Vanessa!
Dad, what are you doing?
Well,
Alright, outside a useless backstory, I actually find this setup to be really interesting. It's kind of been a running gag within fandom that Phineas and Ferb, for some reason, are likely to be the least interesting characters of their own show. Like, whether or not we're focused on Monogram, or Stacy, or that farmer and his super pessimistic wife, seriously, what was their problem? It's gonna be a hell of a watch. It's not really show-stopping if there's no show to stop, right? They just fill out the world, and these two boys are the portal into that vantage point. I've never landed on a specific side of the debate myself, but I do feel like the thought is at least a little presumptuous. It ignores a lot of subtle nuances of how the two do what they do. And while I don't think this was written as a rebuttal or anything, it does seem to kind of prove that both sides are correct. The B-plot can absolutely smash the whole story, while Phineas and Ferb maintain a simplistic charm and still manage to contribute to it. If you unpack the basic premise of this episode, it's simply just Doof and Perry fuck around trying to undo the root of teenage angst while the kids stay inside and play Mortal Kombat. I mean, that's it. That's literally all that it has. Within the span of about 4 minutes, the story is unraveled and resolved in record time. While the boys are sick and don't execute their traditional A-plot hijinks, they are technically still important catalysts for the plot. Supporting leads, but not essential. These two plotlines have essentially swapped places in intent and purpose. The focus remains on the A-team, but you can clearly see the B-team affecting the events of the initial story. They took Doof's lively but unfocused energy and funneled it into a story that had the potential to be character revealing, among other things. And they smashed it in a way you wouldn't typically expect, even this late into Season 2. You get to follow it to the end, and their story is the defining tip. Phineas and Ferb are literally treated like the red-headed stepchild. See, that joke was funny because it works on 2 separate levels. They are sprinkled throughout the episode in pretty tight crumbs, which, to be honest, I think would be needed anyway in a Doofenshmirtz-heavy story.
I'm kicking my own butt.
Smartly accenting the progressing conflict emerging from this desire to be cool enough.
see, this is what it's like having a teenage daughter. You're never cool enough.
I'm not saying it carries the insane complexity of one of those hour-long Family Guy specials where they travel the world and shit, but what I am saying is that it's really interesting from a character perspective. I think if you're a deeper fan of this show, you probably are one to be invested in the characters first and the setting second. Obviously, even while out of their element, they can conjure up really interesting struggles. If this show ended up on Fox Kids or something, I'm thinking that the show would be perpetually centered around the title characters, regardless of whether or not we were all into that. So here it would mean playing with the extremes and seeing how they would escape the box that they've been put in. Maybe they'll wrestle with the idea of building inventions being an actual crippling addiction for them and seeing how long it takes before they get to satisfy that craving until Candace busts in and makes them chill the fuck out. Maybe it would mean trying to build on the download or hit a deadline that they totally forgot was today without tipping anyone off to their plans. They had the potential to do something outlandish and silly with such a concept, but as is much in line with their innate philosophy, they're more than content to kick back, rest up, and do something relatively normal, no strings attached. They don't even see it as a particular roadblock.
Aw, you guys really are sick.
Oh, you know us. Nothing can ever keep us down.
In contrast, Doof, who actually has crafted a weapon that could do significant harm, even while wrapped up in one of his overly complex schemes, has more or less been benched so that he can make his platypus friend with benefits gobble up used gum and hear him vent about being a divorced dad.
Oh, it looks so horrible. I can't look. Stop, Barry the Blind One, stop. Oh, man, that was great. Now put it back down and do it again.
I mean, that's pretty normal for him. But in the context of an episode that would be considered low stakes, there's a lot going on here on all sides. Obviously, we haven't gotten into the whole centerpiece of the episode, which is the genesis of the song. It's a fan favorite for a reason. It does kind of feel like a mini recap. The arc setup for Doof, deftly talking through his understanding, or lack thereof, of this whole thing. And in a strange twist of fate, the quite literal interpretation of what's going on is propped up as a great philosophical concept.
Oh, I get it. Platypus is a metaphor for whatever's keeping you down.
I don't know what the fuck is wrong with everyone in this town. This is a joke that they repeat like a million times in the, well, more like a dozen times in the show. But, I mean, it's still quite a few. Everyone in this town, they're perpetually confused. It's really funny, but it's also really sincere. It has deconstructive elements to it, but it's like all believable. All of this happens while we hear almost nothing from our central protagonists. Their role in the story, while ultimately a factor in the final result, was pretty much downplayed from the jump. They thwarted Doof for free on a day when he wasn't even out for blood. The resounding climax is kind of inspiring when you think about it. It's such a big win for this guy. If you had taken this character or this side of the show seriously in any capacity, you're being rewarded for it partially for sticking with the insanity long enough to get real nuggets of gold like this.
She thinks I'm cool!
When I think of this episode, I think of some bratty kid constantly pressing their dad because they're not getting to the park fast enough or something like that, until eventually he gives up, he throws up his hands and he tosses the little bugger the keys and puts him in the front seat and dares him to do better. And then the child drives cross-country in like 40 minutes. Also, Slash joined him halfway through, he's just there for funsies. It doesn't carry that much absurdity as like a general premise. It's rather simplistic. Rather, the implications of everything in it is what's getting me. I imagine that way back when I was kind of mad because the idea of not focusing on Phineas and or Ferb in an episode of Phineas and Ferb sounded insane. Too abnormal to fly, I suppose. Like, they do nothing in it. Well, what's the fucking point? But it ends up emphasizing the dimensionality of this world in ways that later episodes yearn to. And they don't even lift a finger. It's funny, it's succinct, and generally just an insightful 11 minutes. Probably not your idea of a rousing good time, but it speaks to some level of mental acuity the title ain't exactly explaining. So anyway, it's a 7 out of 10 episode. Closer to an 8 than a 6, but we'll keep it there for now. Thank you for watching.